Good morning, everyone. It's Chris T, and welcome to the stupidest challenge I decided to do. Okay, so before we get started, grab your favorite drink. Mine is jasmine green tea. That is my all-time favorite tea. So I have that on board, and let's get into this video. So as you can tell by the title, today we're going to be filling up an entire sketchbook. I might be a little bit cheating because I have filled up some pages in this sketchbook. However, I have not done the most of it or the bulk of it. This was the first watercolor sketchbook I ever got. It's a Moleskine sketchbook, and I really just didn't like the quality of the paper, and I'm not even sure so much if it was the paper or if it was the paints I was using at the time. At the time I was using very cheap paints. This was just what I had to practice with, and if you can kind of see, it just all looks kind of chalky, and again, it might just be the paints, but also I felt it had a little bit to do with the paper. However, I still have quite a few pages left. In fact, I have 19 pages left, and that's 19 pages just one-sided. So today what I'm going to try and accomplish is finish this sketchbook just to kind of have it done and over with in the course of today. And that might be a bit easier to do if I didn't have to go into work for a few hours later, but I do, and it's already 9 a.m. I try to wake up early, but it's not easy to wake up super early for me anyways. But we're gonna see if we can kind of get through this, finish this, and go from there. Okay, so we definitely have to get started soon because I don't have a lot of time. So the goal is to complete 19 watercolor paintings from sketch to finish by midnight tonight, and I better not be doing this by midnight tonight. So hopefully we can get it done in a good amount of time. I really want the paintings to come out good, but we'll see how that goes. The only things I have in mind are the ideas that I got from my boyfriend and my sister. My sister said I should do pastries, and my boyfriend said I should do different biomes. So let's start looking at Pinterest, getting some ideas, Google getting some ideas, and go from there. Okay, switching to a voiceover. So this challenge was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. To start, I didn't do any planning beforehand. I didn't do any sketching or any research beforehand. Going into this on the day of, all I knew was that I was using pastries and the Earth's biomes as inspiration. I didn't even know what kind of paintings I wanted. I just knew that in some of them I wanted to include people. Filming this was also a challenge that I didn't foresee beforehand. I had a bad setup and I really needed to switch things around and kind of make it as good as I possibly can with the resources that I have. Also, my camera did start dying on occasions, and my iPad and my laptop, so I had to put those to charge, and I couldn't film everything because I couldn't just wait around while that charged. Despite those early on challenges, sketching went fine. I sketched all the ideas onto the sketchbook directly. I didn't do any drafts first because obviously that would take a lot more time, and I knew I was on a time crunch. So I just found some really good references on Pinterest and I just went from there. Okay, it is about 1:30 and I just finished sketching all of the pictures that I'm going to make. I have to get to work in like 3 hours. It took me like 4 hours to draw all these things. It's kind of crazy, but I am not down and out yet. I do believe in me. I do believe in the process, even though watercolor takes forever to dry. I'm not gonna think about that. I'm just gonna hope for the best. So let me just show you the sketches so far. I'm gonna take a break and then I'll get back to it. Okay, so we have 19 pages total, and again, our themes were biomes and pastries. For the pastries, I definitely took more inspiration from the colors than just the pastries alone, but I tried to get a good mix in there, so let me just show you all of the sketches real quick. Once I was done sketching, I grabbed some food and came back to my room. And once I did that, I looked at the time, and even though I mentioned it in the video, it didn't click for me until that moment that I had to get ready for work soon. Sketching alone took me 4 hours, so I knew that I drastically underestimated the time that I had to actually do this whole project. So I did some quick washes on the first 3 paintings, and then I took my sketchbook to work with me to do some line art on the paintings that I knew I needed it for. Work was dead because of the quarantine. Everyone's been home, so I was able to finish that bit, which I was really proud of. All right, now let's talk about some of the frustrations. I'm pretty easygoing, so nothing really wrecked my mood to the point where I was upset, but there were a few places I was like, man, this is just the worst. First, my supposed waterproof indie ink that I used for the line art did smudge around, and this was a few hours later, so there was no excuse for it. I guess it's just not as waterproof as it said it was. That was like one of the worst things that could happen because you really have no control over that. Like, there's nothing you can do once it smudges around. Luckily, it was minimal, but it did muddy some of the colors where it did happen, and that was just so sad. Second, this sketchbook. I stated in the beginning that I didn't use it because I didn't like the paper, and I still really think that. I had high hopes when I first bought it because it was a Moleskine, but even with very good paints, it still felt like it had when I used cheaper paint. Like, the colors were just duller, and blending colors just didn't go so smoothly. The next thing about the sketchbook is the pages don't lie flat, and that was so annoying. I had to tape down pages, and some were glued together by the binding. It's hard to explain, but I don't understand why they taped the pages down in this way. It just wasn't very functional, and it was very annoying. It was something that I kept having to flip the pages back up when I was trying to work on the painting that I was working on. I know nobody asked, but I just wanted to say that I do not recommend the sketchbook. Just overall, it just wasn't the greatest experience. But on the bright side, I hardly got any buckling, even when I added slightly heavier washes. Now, I didn't do any very heavy washes or add so much water, but I know there's some papers where you get buckling no matter what you do, and I'm really glad that that didn't happen. And I didn't even tape down a lot of the pages I was working on, so that was really, really awesome. Hey guys, so if you remember this morning, I said there was no way I was going to be here till 12 midnight working on this challenge. I have awesome news for you. It is currently 3:05 the next morning, and I totally underestimated this challenge. Me from this morning, my younger self, was so hopeful but very ignorant. Very, very ignorant. I didn't realize 19 full paintings, even though tiny, from conception to planning it all out, would take so long. But there exists a loophole. This morning I said I wouldn't be here till 12. We understand that was ignorance, but I will still finish this in one day so I can have my title. I will finish this in 24 hours. I started at approximately 9:30 this morning. Closer to 10 because I was setting up the camera and everything, but we'll say 9:30. So I have until 9:30 for a full 24 hours. I will get it done. I might lose a bit of my sanity. I was hopeful before that I would keep it. I might lose a bit of my sanity, but these paintings will get done. As of now, I have 6 hours, which sounds crazy. Like, am I gonna stay up until 9 a.m. the next day? The answer is yes. Because I don't work tomorrow, which is Thursday, or today, which is Thursday, so I can totally stay up and do it. So enough with the chit chat. I just wanted to check in. I'm going to get back to this, and we are going to get it done. I'm sure that nobody's surprised, but it took me longer than midnight to finish this challenge. I knew this was going to be the case when I was at work. I knew I was going to have to take some breaks as soon as I got home, and then my boyfriend was coming over, so I had to give him some attention even though I really just wanted to do this challenge. And as it turns out, I work a bit slowly. I like putting in some details, and the only way I can produce anything of some quality is by being fully engaged and making it fun. I know that if I just kind of wanted to rush through this and just get it over with, I wouldn't have been happy with anything I painted. And also, art just takes time. Like, that's just something that I feel like I should have known from having drawn most of my life, but apparently it's still something that I have to learn about. But now let's talk about the positives. Despite this taking me forever, and you can see the decline in my sanity on my face, I actually had loads of fun, which I know probably is a little bit hard to believe, but believe it because I really did enjoy this at the end of the day. If I could only say one positive thing about this experience, it was that it was a great exercise. It challenged the creativity center of my brain and loosened up my hand in sketching and painting. I actually think I learned some things from all the repetition. Like, I felt like in the beginning my sketches would turn out a little bit better than towards the end as I've been working longer. But it turns out at the end I kind of liked the things more that I created, and I think it was just that, like just all of the repetition. So that's probably my main point, but I do actually have other things that I really liked about it. Reiterating that point about creativity, just to keep this interesting for myself, I tried some things I usually wouldn't, like painting a girl green or turning a fox into the fur of a hood. I also did a few still lifes, which I haven't really done with watercolor before, and I actually really loved it. I liked the way it came out and was glad I found an excuse to actually do it. The next positive point is that I'm also just really proud of myself. I know I never actually showed the date and time in the beginning to confirm this was done in a day, but it actually was, and though tired and I had a nap nearly the entire day I finished it, I felt so accomplished. I thought about going in and rendering a few after all was said and done, but I'm actually not going to do that. I'm really happy with how everything turned out, and I'm glad that I was able to do this as a challenge and keep it as that. And last but not least, I finished a sketchbook. I actually don't do that often, which is really bad, but I know a lot of artists have that same struggle, so it's not as bad as it could be. So that was just a win in and of itself. Like, I'm done with this. I'm going to file it away and just look at it in the future and be like, yeah, I did that back in the day. So we're about ready to wrap this video up, and I'm going to show you my final moments from this challenge and the final pieces. But before I go, I just wanted to give some final thoughts about everything. So if you were wondering if I'd ever do this challenge again, honestly, probably not. At least not 19 pages. If you gave me a sketchbook with 5 pages, yeah, I would definitely try that again. But I don't think I would do another really long one. This just took a lot of time and a lot of energy. But I do recommend challenging yourself and trying something hard, something that you don't know if you can do, and really trying to stick with it. It was rewarding at the end of the day, and I am glad that I did it, even though I probably wouldn't do it again. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep giving you more content. And I hope you really like the final pieces. I think they turned out pretty good myself. Hey guys, I'm back. And with just minutes to spare, it is 8:54 and I am finally finished. Did not sleep at all last night. Stayed up all night, pretty much a full 24 hours to finish this challenge. Thankfully, I got it all done. It's finally over with. that was the most complicated thing I've ever had to do. I wouldn't say all the paintings came out exactly how I liked. I probably would have wanted to render them a bit more, but with just the time constraints and just having to think of 19 complete drawings and painting each one separately, it was just a lot. So I am happy that I was able to finish it and kind of get it over with. So let me just show you guys what I have. Okay, so yeah, the challenge was definitely a lot harder than I thought it would be. It definitely took a lot longer than I thought it would take, but overall I'm glad that I undertook it. Definitely lost a bit of my sanity, but glad to be over with it. Glad to have finished the sketchbook, even though this definitely isn't my favorite sketchbook. I have a few things I didn't like about it. I'm glad that I was able to put it to use and actually finish it, and now I can just kind of put in my collection of sketchbooks. So let's just go through them. This one I'm really happy with. I really like how her skin turned out. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put a color with her hair, but I think that's fine. Yeah, as you can see, like with this sketchbook, I had really bright oranges that I put on. You can actually see how bright they are here. They're a lot brighter, but on this paper, it really just like doled out all the colors. Had a lot of fun with this one too, just kind of these mini soldiers going off to battle. Yeah, you can see the shine. She was inspired by a pastry that had that kind of gold shine to it. I definitely didn't try hard with her, but I like the fence. Yeah, I was definitely getting towards the end and I was just bored with skin colors, so I used a pastry that was green and just colored her that way. And I actually really like how it turned out, kind of alien meets witchy vibes. And then this is my last one. And I think it's my favorite out of all of them, which is funny because it is the last one I worked on. But I just really love the colors. I was inspired by this peach ring looking pastry, and I found this model on Pinterest that had like the perfect red hair and pink lips that matched the pastry. And I just love that color scheme. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this journey, on this challenge, and for seeing it through with me.